Welcome to your longest running Australian pro wrestling podcast, Wrestle Radio Australia. I am Lachlan Albert, and I am joined right now by a former Ring of Honor TV champion, a Ring of Honor World Tag Team champion, a New Japan Strong Openweight Tag Team champion, and maybe closest to our hearts, a PWA Tag Team champion. It's the Aussie Arrow, Kyle Fletcher. Kyle, how you doing, mate?
I'm good, man. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. Look, I want to get straight into it. You're
Please.
coming back to Australia for AEW Grand Slam Australia, February 15th, my backyard at Suncorp Stadium.
Let's go.
What are you hoping from that show?
Dude, I don't know what that's an interesting question. I don't know what I'm hoping for. I think I'm just excited more than anything, man. I think I'm so excited to bring two of the things that I love together. I love AEW. I love the company. I love being a part of it. And I love the country that I grew up in. So I think bringing those two worlds together for me is going to be crazy special. I can't wait.
Absolutely. And, we've got a lot of love for the Aussie talent in AEW. You, Tony Storm, Buddy Matthews, Mark Davis, and I think I've got to bring up Mark Davis. It looks like
Well,
you two not on the same page at the moment.
yeah.
As far as I can think back, the last time you two were on opposite sides of the ring would have been, like 7 years ago. What
Yeah.
does it feel like to not be on the same page for the first time in that long?
It's pretty interesting, man. I don't know how I'm feeling right now about it. He was out injured for over a year, and I think uh I have obviously grown a lot in that time. I'm not the same person that I was a year ago. I think it would be silly if I hadn't grown and changed at all in a year. So I think it's hard for him coming back and seeing that, and for us to not see eye to eye. I think he's a bit confused. I think he comes back and he kind of thinks like, "Oh, we'll just get the band back together," and it's like, I just don't think we're there right now. Whether or not that is a forever thing, whether or not it means he shifts his perspective a little bit, he opens his eyes a little bit, or vice versa. I don't know what the future holds, but yeah, right now I think I'm kind of just feeling it out, seeing what's going to happen.
Yeah, we were honestly on our podcast, we talked a lot about how glad we were that you still got the opportunities to flourish while Mark was out with injury. That was really important. But as far as Aussie representatives in international wrestling go, we talked about the ones in AEW and there are more further afield.
Mm.
Does it feel like it's harder to stand out as an Australian representative in wrestling now that I guess the market's almost becoming flooded?
Yeah, I think for a very long time it was like it was enough to be the Australian wrestler. It was enough to be like, I'm Australian. There's no other Australians here. Let's just go with that. And it's like that's cool and it works, but it's now getting to a point where that's not quite enough. Just having an accent, just being a little bit different, it's just not quite enough. I think you kind of got to bring more to the table than that. And I think I've started to realize that with this whole new direction I'm going in and everything. And yeah, I think it's a good thing. I think it's a necessary thing. I don't want people to just be the Australian wrestler. I don't want that to be their defining factor. And I think all the Australians, even further afield, have done a very good job of that. And yeah, I think it's the best way forward for sure.
Awesome. I spoke before about how you're a former PWA tag team champion. PWA, a very special promotion down here, and it is exploding. Do you have
Mm.
time to keep up with the Australian wrestling scene while you're working over in AEW?
Yeah, I do for sure. I don't. I wouldn't say I'm able to keep up with every single show front to back. I try and at least keep tabs on PWA for sure. I have a lot of friends there still, so I like to see what they're doing. Um, but yeah, I to me it is so cool. I mean, being a part of it, being a part of that boom, having those couple of matches with velocities that kind of went like super viral was really cool. But watching it from afar has been just as special to me. And I seeing people flourish and people that you love doing well. It's just it's awesome, man. It's a really cool feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, you've had opportunities to come back to Australia recently. I know that with Tamashi, you managed
Hmm.
to get a match in against Robbie Eagles. That feels like, a huge Australian showcase under the New Japan banner.
Yeah.
Are there any other Australians that you're excited to work with and kind of show off what an Aussie v Aussie match can be under
Oh,
those international banners?
yeah, for sure. I think kind of the biggest one that is like on the right on the precipice is like me and Buddy. Me and Buddy have never touched before, never been in a ring before, never been seen on screen together. So I think that is kind of the one that I'm like, I know when that one happens, it's gonna be pretty cool and pretty special. So that I'd say that's probably my one.
And I bet there'd be a lot of that Sydney Melbourne rivalry
Oh,
coming through in it for the fans as well,
100%. Oh yeah,
just to add in that little bit of fire.
definitely.
So, look, talking about the fact that you've moved, from United Empire over to, working now with one of the great managers in the group you're in. Do you feel like tag team wrestling is still a core part of who you are, or do you want to have more of that focus on the singles stuff?
That's an interesting question. I think with wrestling, it's kind of you kind of have to roll with the punches a lot of the time. You kind of have to like think on your feet and kind of go like, oh, this is working right now. Let's go this way. This is working right now. So I think I don't think a lot of it's up to me. I think Davis getting injured was obviously unfortunate, but I took that opportunity. I took it as an opportunity to kind of showcase that, like, oh, I'm just as good on my own, if not better. And I think with what's happening with me and Davis now, with me and Will now, I think only time will kind of tell whether or not we get back on the same page and run the tag division again. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I'm against it. I think we got to work out some of our issues, but I think we would absolutely destroy the tag division. And likewise, I've always had big goals in professional wrestling. I want to be a multi-time world champion, the greatest of all time. And if if right now is the time to chase that, then now's the time to do it. But yeah, like I said, I don't think all of that is entirely up to me.
Absolutely. And like I know you've had, history tagging with Will Ospreay as well, even
Mm-hmm.
back in MCW,
Yep.
right? Not even as part of United Empire. So there is
Mm-hmm.
a lot of history there.
Yeah.
Do you feel, or I should say, who do you feel like within the Don Callis family, if you had to, for instance, team against Mark Davis and Will Ospreay,
Mm.
who would you like to bring as a partner to that?
Man, I'm gonna have to say Takeshita. I think I genuinely when he was a part of the G1, I watched all his matches and I think he absolutely killed it. I would go out on a limb and say that he's one of the best wrestlers going right now. So I think those four people in the ring, I think that's some fireworks right there, man.
Yeah, you don't have to convince me. I'm a big Takeshita fan as well.
Hell
Um,
yeah.
Look, Kyle, it's been an absolute delight having you on. We can't
Likewise.
wait to see you here in Brisbane, Suncorp Stadium, February 15th for AEW Grand Slam Australia.
Hell yeah.
Kyle, thanks for coming to Wrestle Radio Australia.
Dude, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me. I'll see you in Feb.
See you in February, mate.